Well, hello and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you. Welcome back. Happy Monday. I'm in the breezeway. Very mild weather, but I just heard it on the news. I heard the news that everyone else has heard. There are huge, like sort of blackout spaces all over the country and in Canada too. I think Canada already, where we're going to be getting cold fast. So I thought, let me get into the breezeway. Let's do another breezeway show. I took down some of the Halloween stuff. I'm ready to transition. And I think I am going to set up a space downstairs that might be similar. Maybe I'll save this exact look for later. Um, but it will work in progress. I think it'll be nice to be downstairs in a set place again. So this might be one of the last looks at mantle set for this year, just because if it's true and that weather's coming in Canada, I saw all your photos of snow in the last couple of days, and I was surprised. I mean, it was just Halloween. I know it's the right time, and it's a good sign, right? That the world is turning and things are moving forward as we know it. But it's always surprising, nonetheless, isn't it? Jeez, Catherine, great to see you. Good morning, and sunny in warm Southern California. It's crazy cold in Georgia, where your daughter resides. Gosh, that's so is that unexpected? I mean, I always think of Georgia every time I've been there. It's been this summer, but it's been punishingly cold, hot. I love traveling in Georgia. Judy, great to see you. Good morning. Sitting there in damp and gray, PA. So the poem of the morning. Also damp and gray here. I had to park the car in the driveway in the garage instead of the driveway just to preserve my bumper stickers. I have a lot of bumper stickers and I love them all. They're all places we've been. I don't want to give them extra wear and tear. Is that crazy? I'm thinking it's crazy, but they're dry in the garage, so I feel good about that. I even took in Jocelyn's Halloween pumpkin that she painted with the dragon. It was out on the deck, and I thought, no, I'm going to bring it inside because it's just going to get rained on, and it's still like pristine. I said to her, with those little pumpkins, there's little small compact pumpkin, very hard. I said that thing could last for a long time. We don't want to put it out there and have it get ruined when we could be enjoying that painting for longer, right? Things are changing. Cheryl, great to see you. Another rainy day on the Cape. Oh boy, happy Veterans Day tomorrow. Happy Veterans Day to everybody tomorrow. I was wondering about that because I thought, aren't the kids off school tomorrow for Veterans Day? But apparently not. They're having like veterans in, and they're having an assembly, which I think is great. If my dad were alive, he would be one of the veterans who would go in and participate in all of that. But yeah, happy early Veterans Day. Um, Oh, wait a minute. I lost track of where we're going here with the turkey, too. Judy, happy Monday. Great to see you. Rita, howdy. Great to see you. Welcome back, everybody. Linda, great to have options for your setups. Yeah, I do have that downstairs space. It's just so basementy right now. And we're putting a ceiling in, but something fell. Wasn't important. But we haven't done it yet. And we were going to do the walls. But I kind of thought I was going to sit here for the first year, and I don't know what I was thinking. It is a breezeway, and it's cold, and it's not properly insulated. And I could put this heater on behind me, but that's probably going to cost a fortune as soon as I turn that dial on, right? So I'm not inclined to do that because the rest of the house is super toasty. Um, I'm going to find a nice spot for us where we can really be cozy and get ensconced. Kirsten, great to see you. Happy Monday from foggy and cool Vermont. We're all hitting that gray weather over here, I think, on the East Coast. Judy, crazy cold all the way down here in southern Indiana as well. Whoa, interesting. Gosh, that is unexpected. Jane, great to see you. Good morning and welcome. Note, bear and deer, the seeds. Oh, for the pumpkin. I know. I was surprised that nothing has tried to get up on the porch to get the pumpkin. It is a very small one. When we had the pumpkin event at the church, the carving and the poetry night, one of the guys who does a lot of pumpkin carving said sometimes he'll take his pumpkin and paint it strategically with peanut butter, and the squirrels nibble the parts with the peanut butter, so they basically etch the pumpkin and make it into a design. I've never heard that. That's probably a known thing, but I thought that is so cute. Put him to work and give him a meal at the same time. So fun. Karen, great to see you. Good morning in sunny, warm, and dry Black Forest, Colorado. Things are going well down there. Sorry, no, I knew what you meant. Critters like pumpkin seeds, beware. And I'm thinking maybe because we're worried about bears all the time, but I do like to watch birds. I was thinking maybe I put where part of the house is very high up. Like there's no way a bear would need like go-go gadget legs to like get high enough to get to our living room window. Like impossible. He would need like a ladder. So I thought maybe I'd put like a suction cup bird feeder out there or hang something from the outside of the house with a bird feeder really high up so that we can watch some of the birds come and go. Although I don't want them to fly into the window, which is something that happens at my mom's house a lot. And they're usually just like stunned and then they get up and fly away. But it's awful when you see one of them that didn't make it. Speaking of that, I saw the strangest thing the other night when we were driving home. We took like a spontaneous trip on Saturday just for the day to New York State. And I wanted to check out Ballston Spa, where I had never been, and it was so beautiful. If you know Ballston Spa, you already know. If you're from that area, you are very lucky. It is so pretty there. It is such like one of these quintessential, like villagey, cute as a button towns. It was so cute. Lots of places to eat, busy Main Street, lots of stuff going on. Big antique center right there, right in the center. Um, there were stores that had like crafty stuff, new stuff, old stuff. I went into this store called Nourish, and it had lots of T-shirts and bags, very like high quality art. Wasn't just like souvenir type stuff, which is also fun. This was different, and lots of art supplies. And the reason it's called Nourish is because everything you buy, a certain amount of meals are given to a local shelter. So people are able to eat when you buy things. And on everything that you buy, if I were to buy these glasses, it would say like four. And it's like 4 meals were given to people because I bought the glasses. So I bought a ton of stuff and I felt great about it. It's a really, really cute town. And then we shot over to, oh, and I found something. See behind, I'm on a tall stool. And so if you hear another bang that was louder than the first, it's me going down. And if I don't come back up, that's a problem, right? I don't know what to do. But yeah, I'm on a very high stool and I feel very precarious up here. So I'm just going to carefully indicate behind me. Let me see if I can reach it without changing the balance of the stool. It was a cheap stool for sure. But I found this rug in Ballston Spa at that place. I think it's called the Wayside, something like that, in this big brick building. It's twice this big. I'll just hold part of it up. It's a hooked rug. It's hooked with yarn. I think it's hooked all with yarn. It's certainly a commercial pattern. And this is half of it. And it's not in great shape. You see there's massive loss on this side too. But it has really pretty sort of Christmassy colors and and it's bound. I won't show you again because I want to keep some surprises. It's bound in an unusual way. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do in the month of December? I'm going to do a series. I'm such a hot mess today. I'm so sorry. I'm seeing don't look at myself, right? Because I don't want to know. I'm going to do a series of shows on restoration because this has rips, it has loss, it has stains. The one thing that seems okay on this is the border, but a lot of other loss has already happened. And you see color loss has happened. It appears to be a pre-printed design that you would fill in with the colors. And some of the colors have not been very enduring, right? Like they're totally worn out while other colors have a quite high pile and still have a lot of integrity. Interesting, right? So I'm going to search for this specific pattern and I'm going to work on this in a series of December things. We can work on it together because then we'll learn how to do some of these basic techniques like this specific edge finish. And I'm going to replace some of the yarn that's already in there. I'm going to fill some holes that need re-hooking, and I'm going to patch. So those are like the basic things that you would need to do if you find a rug that's not in perfect condition. Let's see, can I get it back there without a spectacular scene? There we go. So we'll play with this a little bit later at the end of the year. I thought it was a good project because it has a bit of a Christmassy look. So I was very happy to find that. I did see other rugs. Prices sometimes are just so cute. I mean, what else can you say? I saw a couple other rugs that were commercial patterns that were like $850. Oh, that's so cute. I mean, they're just very, very basic and not in particularly good shape. And this one I think was 30, maybe 35, not more than that. So I thought, well, that's a no-brainer. That's our Christmas go-to project where we can learn a lot from that little body right there. So we will look forward to doing that. It was super, super fun. And then we went over to Saratoga Springs, which was also really fun. I have not been there for years, not to go to the races, but to hit the main street. And it was a lot of newer stuff, so it wasn't exactly my thing, but the atmosphere was really like a university kind of atmosphere. It was really, really nice. It was a beautiful main street. The one thing that I really liked, two things. Beautiful bookstore. I think it was called Lyrical Ballads, something like that. It was really fun. An old bookstore, old and new, but mostly old. Lot of local books, and I was able to pull a lot of local books that were about New York State that I have used over the rest of the weekend to create some new designs for for the Spilling the Tea book, because although I was a tour guide with a years ago, right, with a specialty in Revolutionary history, I did sometimes take tours to New York, but it was usually New York City or quickly through New York to get to like Canada. So I never on my tours stopped in that part of New York, like the Albany part of New York. And because of that, I know basic history, I know basic battles of, Revolutionary era battles from that period, but I don't know the sort of charming little stories of people and things that happened. And in local bookstores like this Lyrical Ballad, I think that's what it was called, um, they had stuff like that was printed locally, staple bound pamphlets, things like that I thought, ooh, great inspirational stories that I can work into rug hooking patterns. If you don't get them there, you don't even know that they exist because you're probably not going to find them in your neck of the woods, right? Because they're really most interesting to people locally as local history. So I made some fun scores and I got some great inspiration. It was a great time. But when I got home, I turned on my computer to work on the Roses storybook, and my calendar popped up. This is just classic. And I had 3 tickets to the theater that night, the Saturday night, while my butt was sitting on the couch. Well, I could have easily gotten home in time, right? It's only 2 hours away, that area. And so we missed the theater show. Me, my husband, and my sister. I bought tickets for the three of us. And apparently, I was the only one to put it on my calendar. So that kind of fell on me. But luckily, the theater, I think, is going to try to move us to next week because I said I was so sick that my head was hanging on by a thread. So if they have seats, we'll be able to go next week, but super disappointing. Just goes to show. You drop the ball for 2 seconds. If you don't have someone who immediately picks the ball up, you're gonna be ball-less, right? So that was a hell of a thing, but it was a nice weekend, and I did find some fun stuff, and especially this thing behind me. So I'm really looking forward to digging into that together. And incidentally, a bunch of people, Patreon people first, I'm showing the Spill in the Tea patterns for the 1776 book that will come out in 2026. And a ton of those patterns have already been taken. So I'm putting some more patterns out, but it's not going to be like one of our Halloween bumper books that has 100 patterns. This is going to be between 20 and 30. So there will be a limit at one point. Also, Patreon. I didn't get a chance because it was a bit of a wild weekend, and part of it was fun. But I did take Saturday off, I admit. But I did find the swag bags from the Halloween party a couple weeks ago, and I have 8 left. So I'll put a price on those. I'm thinking it's gonna be a low price because there's a book in there, there's a yarn bat, and there's a unique pattern that is only available at that party. So that pattern won't pop up on my website or anywhere else. So those things are in the swag bag, but you don't know what book you're getting. It's one of the Rug Hooking Magazine books. The thing is, I need to figure out the shipping. So I'll first pop those up on Patreon because it might be that people want more than one. They make nice gifts for other rug hookers too for your guild meetings, and I only have 8 left. So that's it. All right, let's carry on here. Boop boop boop. Goretti, great to see you. Good morning from Goretti and Mike in Acton, Ontario. Good snowfall yesterday. I saw pictures and I thought, wow, that's a proper snow. Great to see you and Mike. Linda B, your new home sounds so cool. It is so cool. Nice 1960 style ranch. Lots of sneaky places to be. Lots of charm. Never thought I'd like a house that was older than 1750, and this is 1960. But it has all that charm in this setting. It just couldn't be any more beautiful than it is. It's so pretty here. I feel like I'm living in a park. I might feel differently in a week or even tomorrow when I have to drive down that super steep driveway. And hopefully I don't go careening into like the river. You know, it's very, very steep up here. And I've got that Kia Soul. Oh man, Barbara, great to see you popping in for a bit between errands. I will take you any time. So, I was going through our stuff from the party. I'm still going through party stuff and already planning the next party. I've already been in touch with the girl at the place I want to have the party next year because we are getting bigger and bigger, which is great. The more the merrier, absolutely. So I am going through that stuff, and I picked up another one of the books that is one of the books that was in the swag bags, right? We've been looking at them as we go, and it's this book here, Rug Hooking Through the Year. Now, this isn't one of the newer books. I have seen this book and I was aware of this book, but I don't think I owned this book. This came out in 2018. So, Rug Hooking Magazine's press is called Empre Press. Um, I gotta say, I was so surprised because, like, I can be so awful and judgmental, but I looked at the cover and I said 24 projects. Okay, well, chances are, and I kind of flipped through it and I saw a couple that were really traditional, and nothing wrong with traditional, but my style is a bit wilder, a bit more spontaneous than like real traditional stuff. And that is the old way of rug hooking, right? My style is to, in terms of, in 2025 language, to take a coal out of the fire and draw something crazy on my backing and hook it. That's exactly what they would have done in the late 19th century. But in the 20th century, we got kind of not. This is not an example of the magpie with the pie. In the 20th century, we got very commercial pattern oriented and dependent, and we were kind of looking at and repeating designs for rugs that were very traditional, like existing designs for rugs that were sort of known patterns and pulling from the sort of European and Eastern European traditions and even Far East traditions. And that's what everybody hooked because people really were hooking rugs back then, right? So when we look at the 20th century and we look at the patterns, they're beautiful patterns. Some of them are different, but for the most part, at least through the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, right, until we hit the 1980s, we are looking at predominantly McGowan type patterns, whether it's McGowan as a designer or not, beautiful patterns. But for the most part, rugs that are meant to be rugs, chair seats that are meant to mimic rugs and match rugs, all kinds of table runners, accessories, bell pulls, again, that are pulled from traditional known designs and Jacobean designs, right? So things that were fashionable as needlework became important as rug design as well. Now we've kind of moved away from that in more recent years because people are thinking, well, I'm not making a rug, I'm making a tapestry. So I would like to do something that's a bit more um, original, right? And of course, it's taste, and it's not even taste. It's what you feel like doing at that moment. If you feel like making a big traditional rug for the floor, then you should do it. If you then feel like making something completely different for the wall, you should do it, right? You should pull from the best of our heritage and any style, right? Any style that you want, and it's calling out to you for your next project. So when I when I flipply through this book, I saw some older patterns and I thought, that's probably not for me. And I honestly did not take the time. So shame on me. I might have glanced at it before, but I haven't taken a really good look at it. And to my loss, because it actually is a surprisingly fun book and it is varied. I like varied, and this is varied because, like we've said in past episodes, I think when we were looking at Karen Miller's book in the maybe the last episode, Motherhood, we were saying books are often sort of categorized as being the work of a specific person. So, for example, when we look at the Haunted Rug, those with a few notable exceptions from great friends and viewers, talented viewers who submit patterns that are great. So happy to have a variety of things in there. But for the most part, the books that I put out are my designs, right? And designs that are linked to ribbon candy hooking. There's that category of book. There's the technique category of book that's like, watch my hands while I do this, and you can learn too, right? That's a different category. There's a category of book that's like, this is the style. Like when we looked at Donna Harkman's monochromatic book, duochromatic, it's a technique, right? So let me show you how to do this specific technique. And most books are a fusion of things. There's compilation books that are more like an anthology, like let's look at, for example, Celebration magazine, right? Let's look at the best rugs of the year, right? Let's look at them. So there's that. And then there are books that are themed, whether they're anthologies or designer driven or whatever. Like the Haunted Rug is also a themed book. Let's look at Halloween and autumn, right? So there's so many different categories of books. One of my favorite categories of book, of anything, of design, of craft projects, of kits, of anything, magazines, is seasons. I'm a sucker for seasons. I love going through the four seasons, through the cycle of the year, the wheel of the year, talking about the different things that come at the different times and getting excited for each of those things because, of course, every season has its pros and cons, right? We're about to experience that. Every season is, of course, beautiful, and you try to make the most of it, even if there are specific challenges. But when you think about designing or doing projects for the seasons, it really roots you in that place in that time. And for me, it helps me look forward, helps me appreciate where we are at that moment, and when I'm working on my next project, it gets me kind of excited and it gets the anticipation going for the next thing, whether it is spring or summer or whatever. My brain starts thinking about it and getting excited as I work on my projects. So, this being a seasonal book really appeals to me. It's called Rug Hooking Through the Year. And weirdly, I don't see an author associated with this book. This is printed by Rug Hooking Magazine, but let me see who did the. Oh, okay. So Deborah Smith, who was the former editor of Rug Cooking Magazine, I think she compiled this. So this would fall under the category of like a compilation book that has a theme, and the theme is the seasons. So that makes a lot of sense because I didn't see a name on the cover. You know, I feel like Rug Cooking Magazine should do more of this stuff, like with the content that has been in the issues. It would be nice to see, besides like the sort of annual yearbook celebration, it'd be nice to see projects like this that are all different levels of skill, you know? So anyway, I picked out some of the projects in this book. It goes by season. It starts in the spring, so we're going to start in the spring too. And I was really blown away by the projects, by the scope of the projects, by the really thoughtful choice of difficulty, very simple stuff, going to quite complicated stuff. Most stuff is very simple. There's some three-dimensional projects. It really is charming. We'll just dive in and get started. And I bet you will be charmed as well. Let's see. So here's the cover, right? And you're probably aware of it. I think there's a link to it. I believe there's a link to it in this video, right? So if you're going to go on Amazon and you click on this video, it doesn't cost you anymore to get it that way, but it does help me, and I always appreciate that. So this is the cover. And, oh, Kanga, good to see you. First dusting of snow there in Western Pennsylvania already. We were just talking about the snow and anticipating quite a bit tomorrow. And not here yet. But in Canada, already snow happening up there. We're getting there. It tis the season. Speaking of which, if anybody, this is like a personal shout out. If anybody is local to me, I'm in Connecticut. I'm outside Hartford, Connecticut. And I did plan the big Yuletide festival for the church. And I am doing my rag rug trees, if you remember the rag rug trees that are on like a base. And I have tons and tons and tons of wool and other materials. You'd knot onto them. I should have put a picture in the slideshow. But I think I premiered them a couple years ago, and I'm putting them out again with different themes. But so much fun. If anybody's local and they're free on December 6th, I really need somebody in the room. And I'm teaching it as a workshop, but because I'm also like planning the whole festival, I can't be there the whole time. I could really use help in the room with just nodding onto the trees. I can pay you in trees because I'll have a lot of trees there with the little bases that they stand on. To me, this form of rag rug tree is the prettiest and most foolproof if you want to display your wool or your selvages or different materials or whatever. But if you are free on December 6th, I could definitely use help there. Just send me a line. I'm already panicking about that. So this is one of the first projects I saw. And yes, for me, this is Strawberry Basket. So this is a Joan Moshimer. So this is available at Cushing and Company, everything Joan Moshimer, Cushing. I love it, and I love seeing like this things like this. I actually have not this exact one, but I have this exact pattern, not this exact hooking, I have it somewhere in the house and I love it. And I love strawberries. I have a special love for strawberries. And this isn't done in a particularly fine style. Well, this is a 4 cut, right? So it's fairly fine, but it's not like it's a, 2 or 3 cut. Beautiful, beautiful shading on it, really charming. This book is going to help you with finding projects because all the patterns are in the book, 24, but it's also going to help you with basic things like shading. So if you're thinking, I would like to shade a little bit better, show me how to do it, directional hooking, right, things like that. But maybe you're not interested enough, right, in practicing those techniques to, for example, get a book just on shading or just on directional hooking, right? Because it can be like exhaustive information coming at you, or it can just be a picture of a strawberry that shows you which way to hook. So I think that's really helpful because it gives you a good start for, in diagrams like this, there's only really two motifs going, the leaves and the strawberries. And it's telling you on the page before the simple way to hook both. So, and it tells you the materials that you're going to need, how much of each, like really detailed. So I think in that regard, this is an incredibly helpful book. It's also a great beginner book. So a lot of people got this at the Halloween party or swapped for it at the Halloween party because they were absolute beginners. This one is called Dandelion Salad and Dandelion Wine. I love this one. Another Joan Moshimer, but a little bit more graphic, or at least it's hooked in a more graphic way. This one could be super realistic, but it's not hooked in that way. This is hooked in a 4, 5, and 6 cut. I love the idea of it. I have had dandelion salad. I've picked dandelions from the cracks of the sidewalk when we lived in the Netherlands and we made salad out of it. That's a very Italian thing as far as I know. I think it's a beautiful pattern. It's a great spring pattern. And of course, we're in spring with this chapter now. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit because you can see the directional hooking in the background. It's all in one color, so it's not like it's distracting, but can you see there is a pattern there for sure? Almost like kind of scallops, right? It's in sections. So I think that's really cool. It does add some interest to a really fairly simple design, but very charming. This would make a great pillow as well, right? And with this chapter, different chapters, different things, right? You're seeing the colors that would need to be dyed. So because not very many colors, right? Fairly simple, but really striking. And showing you the colors, the wool to hook the bee, the flowers. It's broken down in a very simple way. Even some tips about finishing, designer tips, salad and wine. Love it or hate it. The lowly dandelion is a great benefit medicinally. The leaves, especially those picked before the flowers are fully formed, make delicious salads or can be cooked like spinach. Well, I didn't know you could cook it like spinach. Nutritionally, they are outstanding, containing iron and vitamin A. Dandelion wine is legendary, and there are rumors that dandelion roots might be a successful caffeine-free coffee substitute. Oh, that's interesting. I think I need the caffeine, but that's interesting. April, great to see you. Happy Monday. Yeah, it's really fun. And, they're showing you the pattern like this. Simple line drawing. Really, that's a 2018 pattern from Cushing. That's really different. And I'm going to skip a bunch of the content here because I don't want to show you all 24 patterns in this book and spoil it for you. There's a lot of beautiful patterns that I'm not going to be showing here. We're just doing kind of an overview. So I'm skipping a couple right now. I'm skipping a footstool that is really charming, and I'm skipping a 3-dimensional pattern for spring that is bunnies, and it's also super charming. And I'm going to land on Under the Willow. I accidentally crossed over with this one because this is a summer one, but this was done by Chris Miller of Spruce Ridge Studios. Under the Willow, 22 by 25, 6, 8, and 8.5 cut wool on linen, designed and hooked by Chris Miller of Howell, Michigan in 2009 to 2009. Rita says, I didn't think I would enjoy this book since I've been hooking since 1988, but I was surprised it's a great book to pick up. Exactly. It is. It's funny. It hits you on a few different levels. The patterns are really good. And again, not every pattern is going to appeal to every person. That's impossible. It's like buying a record. Do you think you're really going to like every song? I mean, you know you're not, with very few exceptions. And of course, books and pattern books are like that too. Um, but you know, it does. This book does represent a lot of different styles. There's some paisley in this pattern, I think, in the bird. So she talks a little bit in this chapter about hooking with paisley. Every chapter is different in the way that it's set up. And I think this is an important note because this adds to the usefulness of the book. So every chapter seems to have what you need, right? And it tells you in detail what you need to do this pattern. But for example, this is the way this chapter looks. Over here, there's text that is, for example, um, enlarge and trace the pattern, right? You have the line drawing, what you do from beginning to end, and it's just points like as you're filling in the background, hook the ground area with the olive green / orange wool. Remember to hook just outside the drawn line of the lamb to accommodate the roving. So stuff like that, those kinds of step-by-step directions are printed there. And when you get to the second page, right, it's written more like an article. And hooking with roving, like a whole section on hooking with roving, embellishing the bird because he's got crazy feathers coming out of his head, and then finishing up. So every chapter is handled differently. And so that means that if you're actually reading the book, and it's not a hugely long book, this book is 122 pages. That's a good number actually. Um, it means that if you're actually reading it, if you're not just going like this, you know, and oh, I like that one pattern. Oh, I like that pattern too. And then you put it away. If you're reading it, you're going to get some tips, right? You're going to get hit with some tips that are things you don't know yet or things you've forgotten. And, and you're gonna love when that happens, right? You never know. You have to hear something as a human. What is it? 7 times before it really sinks in. So some of the things that you pick up in this book, maybe it's the 7th time finally, right? And you're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that from now on. Right? So that's why a book like this that is just peppered with lots of different kinds of patterns, but also lots of varied information is a lot of fun to flip through. Wait a minute, sorry. I think I did an accident. Oh no, that is the next one. Okay. I I'm out of order again. I don't know what's going on, but I'm out of order. But it doesn't matter. This is summer. This is by Jean Shepherd. This is called Foul Mood. Great idea. Great name. Of course, legendary Jean Shepherd. This is a 14-inch square. It's all done in 8 cut on primitive linen, designed and hooked by Jean. This was done in 2000, also in 2009. And in this chapter, he covers different things like dyeing transitional wool without dye. Um, Sorry, I'm just skimming that. I'm thinking he's doing over dyeing or he's like leaching or doing like the stone soup kind of thing. Because, of course, he's like the dyeing master. Marbleizing the wool, enlarging the pattern, hooking, and then hooking foul mood. So, and then hooking the geometric border. And then what you need. So again, each person is putting into their chapter um, different information, and you're going to benefit from all of that information. I really love this pattern. You know, a simple pattern like this, Judy says, Gene Shepherd is an amazing dyer and draw cooker. He absolutely is. He is one of the, as Rita would say, goats, right? The greatest of all times. Um, I just love the variety in this. It's a super simple pattern, and sometimes it's hard with patterns that are this simple to get there in the end, design wise, hooking wise. If you are, for example, hooking a chicken in your life or a rooster in your life, and you think, okay, I got the rooster, but now what else am I going to put with it? Always remember the possibility of text, of funny text or names and dates, things like that, years. But also remember geometrics and every time, and borders in general. This has 4 borders, but to the south and east borders are like that sort of peppermint technique, just 3 strands across. So they're much finer borders, they're much thinner borders than north and west. So this is also possible because it creates interest if the image is offset a little bit like that, and fall mood is offset. So interesting. If you're doing a design with borders and you want to kind of create more intricacy and more interest in your borders because your pattern is simple, right? Or it's a kind of motif of one thing, in this case a rooster. Then you want to think about, first, do I want to have four big borders? Do I want to have two big borders, or do I want to have, or three, or one, or any number, right? It's up to you. And do I want to do them all for the same, or do all matchy match, or do I want to do something different? Do I want to break off cornerstones like this and have something in the corner, like the circle with the peppermint around it? Interesting. These are all things to think about, and of course, it also depends on what you like to hook. Beautiful opportunity. If it didn't have this border on it, it wouldn't be such a colorful piece. The chicken is very, very rich looking, super well done, and colorful in its own right. But the sort of rainbow in the border is so beautiful, right? It's so pretty. It adds so much color. It adds so much energy, and the text is funny and fun. It's just a great project, and yeah, solves a lot of problems, right? And I'm experiencing this right now as I work on some pieces for a new book project. I think, well, I want to have a design with this motif, but not much else. My brain has to go to either background or borders, right? Either an interesting or an unexpected background or an unexpected border. Otherwise, I'm at risk of creating designs that are rather ho hum. And there's so many ways to electrify even the most simple line drawing. Alicia, great to see you. You made your first Amish rug this weekend. Oh, oh, the Amish toothbrush. Fantastic. Isn't that fun? I'm so glad you said that. That reminds me, I had the multi-strand rug thing set up for, I think, yesterday, and only Lynn signed up for it, and I keep forgetting to talk about it. So I'm going to offer that again right after Christmas, like right at the beginning of the new year, and I will remind you, because it comes as a kit if you want it as a kit, and I'm going to be doing it live with you. I'll do the multi-strand braided, and then I'll do the Amish toothbrush rug as classes. And the tutorial is already there, but if you're the kind of person that feels like you want to do it in person and you want to talk to me while you're doing it, I'll make both of those things available right in the new year. They're both such great, easy forms once you get it. Once you get it. And I don't want to say that they're just like easy, right? They're only easy if your head is in that place. If your head's not completely in that place, everything's difficult. It's the same with everything, right? That's why sometimes it's good to be able to interact with somebody. And these are two classes that I teach a lot in person. And sometimes people get frustrated. And I know they're not mad at me. They're mad at themselves. And I get it. Oh, but I get it, right? I get so angry when I can't lock into something and my brain doesn't get it. And the more angry I get, the less chance there is of me actually figuring it out, right? It's just the way, it's human nature. So I'll run both of those in the new year, and you can hop on board with those if you want. I'll put stuff out with like kit options too. But Alicia, I'm so glad that you got that done and that you enjoyed it, and I'm glad that the videos got you through it. Because some people are only in-person learners. Some people are like written book learners where they just stare at the image, but don't show me anything moving, don't talk to me. Some people are did I say just in person? Some people are YouTube video watchers who pause it. That's kind of my way. I like to see things done, and I can pause it and study it, and then rewind it a little without a class situation when I'm learning something new. But everybody learns differently, so it's good to offer things in different ways. Buttons came to join us, but I'm too scared to get off the stool to pick him up. He's down there, and he's looking cute. His little tongue sticking out. Goretti also loves Jean Shepherd's work. It is phenomenal. Judy says, coming in on the spiral detail he used for the craw. Let's look at that. So sophisticated. All right, let's go look at the craw. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Craw time. I love the word craw. I use it probably more than I should. Things get stuck in my craw, It's a nice way of saying things without saying a bad word. Yeah, the craw is excellent. That is really cool. And I think the dyeing techniques that he talks about in this chapter, you see the kind of rusty effect on so many of these colors. They're not solid colors. And that's his marbleizing, and that's, I think, his dyeing without dye. So mixing colors, over dyeing, leaching colors that bleed into other colors. You get this kind of mellow variety of color where everything is married together so it all matches. But no color is truly solid. I think that's really, um, it's a winner. It's a winner every time. And he is the master of color and dyeing and dye techniques in general. This is a pattern that is not in the book, but I wanted to show there's another pattern if this kind of piques your interest. There's another, this is a chapter about two chickens, and the pattern that is given in the book is from uh, Charlotte, so the story is by Charlotte Bell. The pattern is by Auralia Crisantos of Las Rancheritas. So this is one of the two um, South American hooking or Latin American hooking, um, sort of, I don't, mission is the wrong word. You know what I mean. There's a group of women who are doing rug hooking using traditional rug hooking techniques, using a hook, and coming up with designs that they are then able to sell. So Multicolores is the other one in Guatemala. This one I think is based in Mexico City. I don't speak Spanish, so Los, looks like Los Mayores Mamas de Mexico. If anybody can translate, I'd love to see it. But the pattern that they're showing is two chickens. It's a little bit different than this one. But I remembered that I had done an episode on La Rancheritas years ago, maybe in 2020. And the work is just stunning. And I'm not sure if it's the same case now, but it was possible to go online and buy specific rugs by specific makers and to help that sort of mission because, of course, the women who are hooking these rugs are living in economies and social situations where they could definitely use the money. So I have to admit, I did find it harder to shop with La Rancheritas than I did with Multicolores. And they're apples and oranges, two completely different styles of hooking. But I remember at the time I found it hard to communicate which ones I wanted and to get them. And I wasn't sure how much I was paying. And I hope that all of that is resolved if they're still kind of selling, because that for me made me not want to go back and check out more because it was that stressful. But the rugs are gorgeous. I hope the mission continues. And the one that's featured in here is one that you're going to love. This one is way more complex, but I think it really exemplifies what La Rancheritas does, which is storytelling, right? So Multicolores does a lot of geometric stuff. But oh, the best moms of Mexico. Thank you, Kanga. That is so cute. La Rancheritas does more storytelling, and that's a great example. The best moms of Mexico. I did buy. I thought I had bought like 3 pieces, but I only got one, and I love it. And it's of a, I'll have to get it out. It's of a horse, and it means like don't fight with me, little one, or something. He's like there's like some other character like a hedgehog or a porcupine or something. It's funny, but I associate this school of rug making with humor, almost like a Hutchinson type humor, Mercedes and James Hutchinson type humor, whereas Multicolores is more geometric driven and floral driven and motif driven. These are way more folk art to me. Really love them. Jessica, great to see you. Hello to you. Oh, it's snowing there in Ohio. Oh my gosh, we were talking about the weather. Everyone's getting a different weather, but the one thing I think we have in common is we are headed in that direction. I think we're all headed towards snow if we don't already have it. I hope that you're safe. Does that mean that Evie has the day off today? um, so this was a spring one that I somehow missed out of order, but this is Magpie Cherry Pie. This is the cover design, and this is from Karen Larson of Crow's Foot Farm Designs. Such a cute piece, and in her section of text, she talks about the hooking of Magpie Cherry Pie, not in terms of direction, but in terms of what she used, what she found to hook it in, and her experience and tips with hooking it, but it's not a how-to, it's different. It's like a conversation. And she talks about finishing it up, and she talks about translating bird feathers into wool. And then, of course, she talks about what you need. So, and then on the next page, she has a conversation about the color black, because the color black is a shapeshifter. And depending on what sort of black bird you're doing and what effect you want, there are many different blacks, right? So that is the cover image. This one here, okay, let me find this one. Hold on. Another cutie. I think this one, yeah, this one falls in the autumn season. Starflower and Fractor Deer by Susan Feller, Ruckman Mill Farm, and Green Mountain Designs. So this is Fractor Deer. This is 12 by 9, so this is a little itty bitty piece done in 8 cut on monk's cloth, designed and hooked by Susan Feller of Augusta, West Virginia, 2005. And yeah, I mean, this is an absolutely adorable piece with a real Native American flavor, right? We've got that kind of sort of almost like reminiscent of a cave painting. The deer, the running deer, very simplified in that sort of clay color. So we're looking at those is it Native American, the color palette, right? Things that you could produce with natural dye and not going too far away from that. Either the natural color of sheep's fur, so browns, grays, blacks, and shades of white, but then colors like yellows and reds that could be easily dyed by plants and leaves and flowers. So this chapter talks about, let's see, there's a second pattern in this chapter, hooking fractor deer, finishing up, what you'll need, and then a bunch of designer's tips. So, for example, uneven borders, top and bottom, smaller than the sides or 3 sides, the same in the bottom, heavier in design, or okay, so it's written in phrases in size or design. So one of these, so the tip that she's saying is, and this goes back to the last image we were looking at as well. If you're doing something that's a very simple motif like this, with Jean Shepherd piece too, do you want to do a border? And if you want to do a border, think about it. This is 4 borders, but they are not equal borders, right? The larger borders in terms of having real estate for storytelling are the top and the bottom. So we've got that bird motif on the top, and we've got, I'm not sure what that motif is on the bottom. I think it's just a line, right? It's just a design. And then it becomes a question of, okay, we're starting there. So I'm going to drop my central image presumably into the center. And then I have the 2 side designs, and what do I want to do with them? Because I have carte blanche to be able to do whatever I want with them. So interesting. That was the first tip. The second tip, organic shapes and lines used along with hard geometric designs. Okay, so she's talking about theater. She's talking about drama, having harsh shapes like the cross, right? The tree, right? The very sort of jaggedy tree. And then these organic shapes like the form of the deer, like the swirls down below, like the scalloping. There is a mix and a balance of shapes that are very severe and shapes that are very lyrical. And when you have those things together, it will create drama. I'm not going to read all of the tips, but the first tip for me would be, think about, if you're doing outlining, think about not doing your outlining in black. Think about doing your outlining, for example, here in red, and there's even moments of the red border that go toward like a rusty, darker terracotta color. Same, and it's the same color as the deer itself, right? But interesting, because as soon as you introduce another color for outlining, there's no black in this piece, right? And it's very graphic. It looks like it could have black and white. It doesn't. It has brown, yellow, and red tones, shades of each, and it has some textured material in it as well. Oh, Sharon, good to see you. This is the book you received. Okay, great. So this is the one you got in your swag bag. So fun. Yeah, think about that. Think about that, because we do a lot of outlining in black just because that's the way we've been taught with cartoons and comic books and things like that. We think black, and it doesn't have to be. It adds a whole different feel if you're going to do some outlining in different colors. And it enables you to introduce different colors to the piece without really changing the meaning of the piece. So for example, this deer was going to be red because that obviously was the vision. But let's say that you did this piece and you hooked the deer a more sort of traditional brown, and then you hooked the background in colors like this. You might stand back and look at it and say, this is not very colorful. you might have already thought about making the borders, the backgrounds of the borders of the background of the deer, different colors, brighter colors, just textured colors, something different. But you might also just think about outlining the whole thing in a different color, and without changing the literal plan, the literal color plan for your piece, you are still able to introduce a lot of color and not have it be zany, right? Because not everybody wants a red deer isn't particularly zany, right? Because they do have this sort of natural brownish reddish color, but for example, purple would be a bit zany, or lime green would be a bit zany. So maybe you don't want to do that, but you want to introduce a color like that somewhere else, outlining. It's always a great idea. Something I try not to forget when I'm doing my stuff. So let me come back here. This is a spring pattern, The Royal Order of the Radish by Ellen Banker. There's at least a couple in this book by Ellen Banker, really whimsical, very, very different. Does anybody know Ellen? Because I'm not familiar with her work, but I know of her. Um, I really love the two pieces that are in this book, so I'd love to know more about her. Patricia, great to see you coming in late, drawing a pattern on linen for a hit or miss. Great! And you're having a creative block and decided to take a break. Yeah, you know what? That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Did you see the one we just looked at right before this? I'm going to show it to you just in case. It is so easy to get those kinds of mental blocks. You just have to walk it off, like you're running and you get a cramp, right? You got to walk it off. There's no point in sitting there because you're just going to get frustrated. Let me show you the one that we were just looking at a second ago that might help with your designing this kind of an idea for hit or miss, breaking up the borders in different ways, using different colors, putting in some motifs, putting some organic shapes, putting some geometric shapes. Lots of choices, but only when your brain gets there, right? They can't be rushed. These things cannot be rushed. So The Royal Order of the Radish by Ellen Banker is 21 by 27. It is number 3, 4, 6, and 8 cut wool on linen. It was done in 2013. Really unusual pattern. Do you see that subtle sort of marble cake in the background? Very simple pattern, but the whole story is in this one motif, the radish. And more specifically, the sort of joke of the text. The text is extraordinary. The way that this text, it is neither printed nor cursive. It is a font. And, as always with text, you have to be very careful that it reads. This reads beautifully, but you have to be careful when you plan this kind of a font because it can play you. This is the right place for an elaborate font like this because it's a fairly simple design, right? It's very ornate, but it's not a busy design. The technical prowess on this design is through the roof. The hooking of the radish, the hooking of the text, and the hooking of that marble cake background through the roof. But otherwise, it's a fairly simple design and would be great for kitchen, right? We're looking for kitchen stuff all the time as hookers because if you have somewhere to hook it to hang a hooking in your kitchen, there's not very many designs that work, intuitively for the kitchen. This would be one of them. Great image of food, very funny, very fun. The things that Ellen chooses to talk about in this chapter are enlarging and transferring your pattern, and actually hooking the pattern itself, hooking the radish, hooking the roots, hooking the leaves, and then a section on hooking the words, right? And then, of course, hooking the background, the border, right? It's a simple border, it just changes color, and finishing up, and then, of course, what you need. So beautiful. And again, all of the patterns, except for that La Retritas one that I was showing you, all of the other patterns are in the book, and they look like this. So different voice, different conversation each time, and of course a different pattern. Now I'm going to skip over a few so that we can save some for later, and I'm skipping over a whole bunch actually. Oh, there's the other one by Ellen Banker. Hannah Loves Carrots. I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to leave that. Let me see what the next one is. And I just put these in half an hour ago and I've already lost track of what I'm doing here. Okay, let's go to this one. This is a real charmer. Beautifully hooked. Tea for Two by Michelle Serrois or Sorois Silver. Tea for Two is 20 by 25, designed and hooked by Michelle, Vancouver, British Columbia, 2010. This is a stunning piece. Like the amount, the way that the background is hooked, just look at that patterning in the background. That is really wow. I mean, that is very painterly because you're getting a breakdown in the background that looks like brush strokes from a fan brush, Fan, right? And in the tablecloth, you're seeing little swirls, like it's actually a patterned tablecloth. You are seeing amazing, very evolved color substitutions that make it super, super whimsical. But you're also seeing some realist details like the splashing of the tea and the reflection on the cup and the vessel, both cups. So really, really interesting. Also a little bit of shadow and light on the sandwich, right? It really is tea time. So what an extraordinary piece. Color is a big deal for this piece. um, the sections of this chapter are selecting the color palette, selecting the fabric. Making selections are going to be important for this because and she tells you what you need color wise. And in this chapter, she gives you something much needed because this is difficult in a specific way. The pattern is not difficult. The pattern looks like this, right? I mean, it's not the easiest pattern, but the thing about this is the color, the placement of the color. Can you be successful in choosing colors? She has a conversation in this chapter, a very simple conversation, because the chapters are short. So that's the thing about this book. Because the chapters are short, the maker has got to tell you just the greatest hits of, right, not the whole unabridged, but just the greatest hits, the things that were the most difficult or the most notable about this specific pattern. And that's what's great about this book. We get into winter. Let's look at a couple of these quickly. I'm keen to get back to work too because I'm shooting a bunch of patterns out to people today. This is for winter. This is Hot Cocoa and Snow by Wendy Barton Miller of the Red Salt Box. This is 22 by 31, 8.5 cut wool on primitive linen, designed and hooked by Wendy in 2010. And she talks in this chapter about hooking the piece itself, hooking the words, hooking the background, hooking the borders, hooking the tree and star, hooking the bird, hooking the snowman, and then another section on finishing up. And she also gives a designer's tip button embellishment. She's got a button in this piece. You see the snowman is holding up what I guess is a maybe a hat, maybe a bird. In any case, that little red thing has a button on it. So she talks about the use of glass beads. Oh, it's a bird. I'm sorry, it's a bird. For the bird's eye, shoe buttons, little conversation on embellishments, and then tells you what you need. And in this piece, she uses a lot of textured wool right here. Okay, right here. Sorry, I should have put the light on today. I knew we would be mostly doing slides. Let's keep going. We are in winter and we've only got a couple left. And again, I'm skipping tons. There's 24 patterns in this book. This was really cute too because when I saw this, I thought it doesn't get any simpler than this tree in a pot. This is Frederick's Potted Tree by Susan Feller, Ruckman Hill Farm / Green Mountain Designs. And Frederick's Potted Tree is 12 by 16, designed and hooked by Susan in 2013. And you see she hooked both of these in 2013, two completely different versions. The one on the left, very primitive color palette, that sort of stoneware pot, the honey colored, simple neutrals in the background, classic blue, like the colors of the jugs on the left, but on the right, a little bit more ornate, some stained glass colors, bit of a butterscotch feel to it, marble cake background behind the piece on the right with a sort of embossed or embedded star, like a wrapping ribbon star. Really pretty and very different, just demonstrating how different this pattern can be, and really clever. That's the tree, and she has a little conversation in this chapter about using that tree for different kinds of compositions. So not potted, but just quite abstract and broken away, putting multiple, right, doing a landscape, cropping it, right? So interesting conversations about composition in this chapter. Kanka says, love seeing different versions of the same pattern. Helpful to me as a beginner. It really is. The different vibes that the colors give off, the different styles of hooking and the different materials, everything changes when you change just one component, right? If you change one part of your working process, you're going to get a completely different result. Another gorgeous piece, Snuggled In by Nancy Jewett of Fluff and Peachy Bean Designs. She is just fantastic. This is such a nice sort of simplified Art Nouveau piece. Snuggled In is 10 by 18, number 3, 4, and 5, cut wool on linen. Nancy did this in 2012. She is up in Salisbury, Vermont. I was at her house not that long ago. Absolutely beautiful up there. Really sweet, snuggled in, right? Very abstract, and abstract, pulling from Art Nouveau and Art Deco, right? The same sized leaves in different colors, very rich color palette. A lot of color shift in the wool, so not, I don't think, any solid wool in this piece. Um, Really adorable, simple motif, but it's all in the patterning, right? It's the story of the owl, but then the patterning is another huge part of why this piece is so successful. And so in this chapter, she talks to us about using the color wheel, an exercise on color options. Again, really useful. Look at this. She's showing you the owl with two different color patterns. She went for more the green one, but she did it in a darker version of it. But you see, it can go in either direction, and it's really up to you. She gives a bunch of tips as well. Her first tip, I love, it's pick a favorite color. That's a good way to start, because you might as well start with colors you like to look at while you're using them, right? And then she talks about hooking snuggled in and finishing up and what you need, and beautiful line drawing of this piece. And let me skip. I think we have one more to look at before I close. And similar subject, but quite different. This piece is called Not Quite White. Karen Larson of Crow's Foot Farm Designs. This piece is 21 by 27, 6 and 8 wool cut on linen, designed and hooked by Karen in 2012. And beautiful picture. I don't know if these are snowy owls or what kind of owls they are. Nice conversations in this chapter too on dyeing for not quite white. White, just like black, there are so many different shades that it's crazy. You really have to be careful about what you're choosing. And if you're thinking like, I'm putting two birds together that are both white, is it going to be a problem? And not if you're careful about your whites, right? Plural. There are so many. You put them next to each other and you realize that you've got some great possibilities. So nice conversation on that in this chapter. Finishing up what you'll need, her line drawing, and then designer biographies for all of the designers. And then at the very end, there's a rug hooking primer. It's a nice couple of pages that talk about your hook, your scissors. Oh, look, it says ribbon candy here. How fun is that? I thought I was brilliant when I came up with ribbon candy. It's right there. Um, Frame. I don't know if it's making a frame. Pencil hook versus different kind of a hook. Wide shank hook. So just very basic ball hook. Just very basic conversation on what you need. And then one page at the end about finishing your rug. Simple whipping, or Joan Moshimer's method for binding the edges. So that's just it's tucking it under and hooking through both layers, right? I don't know if I would call that Joan Moshimer's. I would say like everybody who studied with Pearl McGowan or any Pearl McGowan teacher did that routinely in the 20th century. But lots of great information there. 24 beautiful patterns. You saw there how different these patterns are and how some of them are very traditional. I showed you the one traditional strawberry one. There's other traditional ones in there. But my heart is in the different whimsical ones. So I showed you mostly those, but it is a nice variety. And remember, there are three-dimensional projects in here as well as flat rugs. So, and rugs of different sizes, right? Of different intended sizes. So I'm going to get back to work because I have been really killing it with getting a lot of good design stuff done. And when I'm in that vein of getting stuff done, right, I need to stick with it because it doesn't happen all the time. And when it does happen, I got to stick with it. It's like working on a geometric, right? Working on a hit or miss. I don't know that it's a geometric, but working on a hit or miss. It's like working on anything. When it's working, you just got to keep going. Just keep your head down and keep going and get the most out of that momentum. And when it's not going, you just got to leave it and come back when you're feeling it again. But I'm feeling it now, so I'm going to go work on getting a few more patterns out. Patreon members, after the show, within the next half hour, look at Patreon. I'll put out a post and see if Patreon members want those last grab bags. And it will be a surprise what book you get. And it will be a surprise what colors are on your yarn bat. and I think you've seen in one of the shows the pattern that I have in there, the party exclusive pattern. It's a winter pattern with sheep. So those things can come to you, and I will ship them in the grab bag. So it'd be a nice surprise for you. But eight is the number. So I'll put those up in Patreon first, and if there are any left over, I will let you know, or I'll figure out what to do with them. Alicia, you are so welcome. It was great to see you, and congrats on that great Amish toothbrush. Rita says, I use all different cuts in my pieces. That's because you're a wild woman. That's one of the thousand things that I love about you. Goretti, thank you. It was a great show because it was a great book. So it's easy. When the material I have is really good material, it's very easy. When the material I have is a little bit, whatever, it becomes more difficult. So um, amazing work in that book. That's a title you should have, and it should be linked to this video, I hope. I will see you all on Friday. Be sure to send me the pieces you're working on, whether you're happy with them or not. We could always talk through them and brainstorm together, try to get you re-energized on your current pieces, pieces that you finished, pieces you're about to start, sketches, things you saw in shops, anything that has crossed your path since the last gallery night. I would love to see. So send that stuff to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com, and tune into Gallery Night this coming Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Patreon people, look out, and I will see everybody back here again